Hey guys, Rilhon here and welcome to the tour video of my finally completed RMS Olympic in Minecraft. This is hopefully my final build of this ship, at least in this scale, and if in the future I want to do anything new, I'll just update this build. So yeah, I started work on this in January, I think it was the 2nd of January of 2024, and now 6 months later she is finally complete. And yeah, I'm gonna take you through a tour of all of the decks, hopefully as many rooms as I can. And yeah, we're gonna make our way down from the top on boat deck all the way down to the tank top. And yeah, let's just get right to it. Starting off here on the boat deck, we are here in the officers' promenade area here in the very front of the deck. And in here is the bridge with the wheel, the compass pinnacle, and a load of engine order telegraphs. These would be used to communicate with various areas of the ship, including engine rooms, the boiler rooms, and even the docking bridge on the stern. If we move aft here into the wheelhouse, you can see another set of, or another wheel. This one was used while you were out at sea, while the one out on the bridge was used in port, I believe. So that's the difference between them. Yeah, here's the bridge. It's very large compared to Titanic and Britannic. Let's move aft here. We have the captain's navigation room, and further aft is the captain's his quarters basically. This is his sitting room. Quite nice. It would have been probably the nicest accommodations on the ship, other than maybe some first class suites. You have the bedroom in here and his private bath in here. And moving aft here, we get to corridors. Here is an example of an officer's cabin. This is the second officer, and these are all the same, so I'm not going to go through all of them. And if we go to here, here's the officer's smoke room, where they would lounge and smoke and play cards, what have you. And here is a pantry for that. On the other side, here is the Marconi room, Marconi Wireless. This is where they transmitted messages to other ships. This is the silent room in here where the machinery was held. You can see MKC here, that was Olympic's call sign, at least for her early years. I think it was changed after the war, I'm not sure though. And here is the cabin for the wireless operators. And then on that side is just more cabins for officers, not much to say. Here is a lavatory for the officers. Heading aft here, we get some more cabins. You can also mention here that there is a cabin for stewardesses, or stewards. Yes, stewards. And here is the first area on the ship for first class. This is the forward grand staircase, very famous room aboard the Olympic class, and it is very grand indeed, as its name so implies. We have a set of piano here, a Steinway Model K piano, I think it is. It would have been, I don't have the exact number, but there were several aboard the ship in all of the classes. And this is the boat deck level, and if you head down here, you can see Honor and Glory, Crowning Time, which was the main mantelpiece around the clock in this staircase, and it's very famous. Titanic would have had something similar, and Britannic as well, but it's likely that they varied a bit in decor. Here's a cherub holding a torch or a candelabra or whatever it's called. And yeah, here's the A-deck landing. We're gonna get to this later. But yeah, this is the grand staircase, which has a nice dome centerpiece atop, and this was not very popular at the time, so this is one of only 2 domes on the ship, while other ships like the Lusitania would have had 4 more, but well, Titanic only had 2. This Olympic, but yeah, they were the same. This is the gymnasium with a lot of various interesting equipment in here. You have one of those balls that you can punch. Here's a weighing machine. I believe this is, you can measure height. Here is a, I can't remember what it was called. I think this was for exercising your arms or something. But yeah, there's a lot of strange equipment. This was the Victorian and the Edwardian era at its peak, with it in terms of what they believed to be fitness. And yeah, there's some rowing machines here as well. No, camelback riding machines. That's what these are. There's also 2 illuminated panels here as well, as you can see. That's a world map, supposed to be. And this is some info about the ships. So that is that. Let's head out for a bit. Here is the boat deck. So as I mentioned before, this area here is dedicated to the officers, where they could promenade and yeah, relax a bit. And this area was separated with a fence. So here is the first class promenade space, all the way up to those fences right there. You can also see the forward 2 sets of lifeboats here. And what made Olympic and Titanic different on their maiden voyages was that the Olympic had both of her collapsible lifeboats stored on the boat deck on top of each other, while Titanic had 2 sets on either side of the funnel up on the roofs here. But this was later changed on Olympic. They would have just put it up here instead. Here's a winch that they would use for, I believe it was for hauling boats up. So if they had lowered a boat and then they wanted to bring it back up, they would use that winch to, I suppose, help the men working the davits, so they wouldn't have to pull the boat up as well. Don't quote me on that though. In fact, don't quote me on anything in this tour, but yeah. I don't know everything, to say the least. Here is the raised deck here for the lounge and the drawing room below. Sorry, reading and writing room. Drawing room is a Cunard term. Here is the compass platform, where they would, had a compass here, far away from any not electric, but magnetic interference, and it's basically in the middle of the ship as well, so that's a very good vantage point to have it. You can see the big funnels here. I added some smoke, which I thought was really cool. Also some wake. In the download of the ship or of the map, you'll be able to have both the wake and smoke, as well as a map without it if you don't like it. And let's move after here. We have a set of stairs going down to the promenade deck, or A deck, and there's a staircase on the other side here as well. Here is a store for deck chairs and the officers' mess, where they ate basically. They also have a little pantry here. And moving aft here is the engineers' promenade area. And this little deck house here was actually a twofold. It was used as tank rooms on either side. Here as well, where the ship's various water systems, like the fresh water, all the type of water supplies would have. It's basically a water tower system. Were being pumped up here, went up to this funnel through these pipes, and then just been redistributed across the ship. And this space here is the engine casing, the reciprocating engine casing. You can just show quickly what this is. This is the forward 2 engines. These power the outboard 2 propellers. We'll get to that later. Here is the dome for the aft grand staircase for first class. And we have now moved into second class promenade space, and these are also the 2 aft sets of lifeboats. Fun fact, these could actually be, or they could be, but yeah, they were swung out during when the ship was out at sea, because it allowed the passengers to have much more space when they went promenading. I didn't add that though, because yeah, I'm lazy. Yeah, they also had a raised section here. This was over the first class smoking room. Here is the deck house for the 4th funnel. There's basically a bunch of fan rooms, some stores, and yeah, stuff like that. Deck chairs, galley store. There's also a staircase here, at least down to the galley on D deck, accessed mostly by stewards. Moving aft here is the second class entrance, the topmost section of the forward second class staircase. Yeah, this was where that terminated. There's also an elevator here. Went down these stairs, and that elevator went down all the way to F deck. That is the boat deck done. And let's continue here with A deck. This is the deck on the ship that was reserved exclusively for first class passengers. And there is a massive, very long promenade stretching around this deck. Just fly around here real quick. Yeah, you could walk fully around the ship, and you wouldn't have to pass through any doors at all. So you can see it goes around all the way. There's also a ton of deck chairs strewn about for if you wanted to relax a bit. So that's it. And there was also a staircase here. What's this? Oh yeah, you couldn't use this. This was, well, you couldn't go up. I think you could go down, passengers that is, but you couldn't go to the boat deck because that was for the crew. Don't quote me on that though. Let's head inside to the first class grand staircase again. We're on A deck level here, and moving aft we get to the A deck elevators. This is how they looked. These went down to E deck, A deck to E deck, while on Britannic they went from the boat deck down to E deck. Here are the forward A deck first class accommodations. So these are cabins. Here's a bath and a lavatory. This is for the ladies. And if we move aft here, we get to some. These are the smallest, or some of the smallest, first class cabins on the ship. Quite cozy, but they did not have private baths, which would hurt Olympic later in her career. Yeah, same on both sides. Inner cabins had these skid lights that would allow light in from the top decks. And moving further aft, these are all the same except for A3 here. This was quite a bit larger. And A1 is a little bit larger, I think, as well. There's a small pantry, service closet, we have some baths and a lavatory here for the gentlemen. Yeah, it's the exact same on the other side. Also forgot these cabins here. That's slightly larger as well. There we go. So that is the forward cabins. And let's head forward. We have this honestly very pretty hallway compared to the other hallways on the ship. Here is the reading and writing room, because we mentioned it earlier. This has the raised ceiling. And yeah, quite nice. This would have been cut down later in Olympus' career. They would have removed this section here and replaced it with additional cabins, basically, because this room was reported to be not deserted but underused. So they decided that this room wasn't, or this section here wasn't worth it, so they cut it down. On Britannic, this section was never included, so it was just this rectangle space. And then here is the lounge, the first class lounge, one of the biggest rooms on the ship, and really quite nice. This was made in the Louis XVI style, unless I misremember. And there's a nice bookcase here with a lot of books and a fireplace. This is fake though, so it would have been just a heater. Big mirror, and there's some alcoves here. Very nice, very cozy space. And a big dome here. Or, yeah, it's a dome, it's not a skylight, even though I wish it was. I think many agree with that. Here is the hallway leading aft to the aft grand staircase. We're gonna quickly check out the pantry here, midships pantry. This would have served the lounge through here, but also the decks outside, and I assume the reading and writing room as well. Here is the aft grand staircase, and this is quite large, this space here on A deck. On Titanic and Britannic, these small alcoves here were filled in with one cabin on each side. On Britannic there were two on this side. And yeah, this is the same style but a little bit smaller than the forward staircase. There's also not an elaborately carved clock there. But yeah, it's still nice. I just wish it would have been a little bit more original, a little bit more different maybe. Here is the smoke room for first class. Very nice space here. This would have been very similar, or not very similar, but this stained glass feature here was actually from Adriatic on a White Star Line ship. So they brought it over here to Olympic, and to quite a nice effect. This was made in the Regency style, and it's quite a nice space, quite a handsome space. I really think that. And yeah, there's also a lavatory here for the gentlemen. You can also walk here through this small hallway behind. I think this was just for the crew, I assume for some kind of maintenance. It was also used to provide the light and air down into the smoke room via these vents here. That is that. Let's move further aft here. It's a cigar showcase. And here is the veranda court. No, palm court and veranda cafe. And there would have been a nearly identical one on the other side. This one was not accessible through the smoke room, however. That was only the case on Britannic. And let's remove some blinds. Here is a pantry servicing these two rooms, or a bar actually. And that is all of the rooms on A deck. Aft here are two cargo cranes. These would have serviced the number 4 hatches, so one on this side and one on this side. There's also the aft mast here. And this little awning spar here would have been used as a connector for swings, so the children could play. Since this room here was a non-smoking space compared to the one on the other side, which meant that this was actually used quite a lot as a children's playroom, because that was never included on the Olympic class, except for Britannic, which would have been very ideal for the swings here in close proximity. Let us continue with B deck. And let's start here on the forecastle deck. This was technically part of B deck, which is interrupted with the well deck there. So yeah, we are here in the very front of the ship. This is the auxiliary center anchor. This would have been deployed in rough seas via this cargo crane, or this anchor crane. Would have connected it, lifted it up, swung it over the ship, and connected it via this hawse pipe here. So this would have led into the windlass space with a large winch here. We'll get to that later. There's also a lot of gear here. This is the anchor. I believe they're called winches, I'm not sure. But yeah, they connected to the two side anchors here. The sides, you also have the Olympic nameplate here. Here's a lot of basically docking equipment, so they would have fastened the ropes here on all of these bollards. No, I'm bad with terms. Okay. Here is the forward hatch, number 1 hatch, leading down to boat deck, and here is our 2 wave breakers. So there was a massive wave coming up on the deck. The idea was that it would be redirected away from the rest of the ship here. Here are 2 large steam winches and the forward mast. There's also a cargo derrick here, and another one could be attached here if it was necessary, and if they needed to bring aboard that much cargo. It's also the crow's nest up here, so that's fun. So let's move aft here to the main part of B deck. Here is the lower first class promenade. The one on the top was the upper one, and this was open, while on B deck this was closed, or could be closed at least. And this was enclosed with these smaller windows here. So yeah, this went all the way around the ship. But this was interrupted here though. This is where first class space ended. Here is second class instead. Goes all the way aft here. And they could in fact go through here. This little weird hallway space. And then it's the same on the other side as well. Let's head in here. We have the forward B deck cabins here. And this is kind of similar to the ones on the deck above on A deck. Except these were, most of these were of the BB cabin style, which I'll explain what that is in a bit. Here is a quite large cabin here, B6 and B4. This is quite possibly the smallest first class cabin on the ship. Very, I don't want to say cozy, I'm not sure if it would have been just cramped. Here is some cabins and a laboratory and baths. Here is a baby cabin, and what these were basically, they had a normal cabin here, and because these were inboards, they didn't have any light. So what they did was they add a hallway out to the side, so they would have light coming in, and this would basically like encompass a smaller cabin here. That was the idea at least. So this one got light, as did the other one. And that's basically all of these cabins here, so I'm not going to go through all of them. Here is some ladies' baths and lavatory. So there's also a small cabin here. Here is the elevators again, and the grand staircase, B-deck landing. And yeah, this was also where passengers could board. This is the B-deck entrance. This was where they would have boarded in Southampton, I know at least, and maybe New York, I can't remember. It depended on the port, basically. If there wasn't really a tall scaffolding type thing for passengers to board via, they would board via D-deck. If there was, they would board via B-deck up here. So now we get to the real interesting stuff in terms of cabins. Here is parlor suites. So this is the Louis XIV style. I'll put up a correction on screen if I said that wrong, but yes, this is Louis XIV. And moving further aft, we get to Empire style. Yeah, this is a sitting room with a fireplace, fake fireplace, but yeah. There is the Empire style cabin. Here's a private bathroom, very fancy. And here is the French style. So this is one suite, these 3 rooms plus bathroom. Let's move further aft here. This is a French cabin again. Bathroom plus Louis XVI style, as well as Queen Anne style. So this is another set of suites. Here is Empire style. There's several variants of the different styles. So this is a style of Empire is different to the one we showed previously. Here's another bath. So this is the beginning of a suite. We have a bath, and this is the modern style. This is also known as bedroom B style. This was Harland & Wolff's own set of suites that they would have built. The other suite styles were actually sourced out to other companies to build on the ship. Here's modern again, and modern again. So those 2 modern would have been part of that suite, and this is a new suite here. Here's another bathroom and Louis XIV, I think this is. No, this is Georgian, I think. I should just put text up on screen. I'll just do that. And yes, this is second room, and this is the third room, another modern style. Here's an expansion joint, so they would have separated the cabins, and there's one here as well, modern again. And this is Louis XV style, very noticeable with its grey paint scheme. It wouldn't have been quite this grey in real life, but you can't really do much with that type of color in Minecraft, so we had to resort to this dark grey, or light grey, I guess. And finally, here are 2 rooms, B66. This is the French style and the modern style. And here's the afterground staircase. And before we move aft here, we're going to do the other side of the cabins. So here is modern again, French. Here is Louis XVI or Georgian. I'm gonna shut up now with styles. Here's a modern style. Modern. This is Georgian, I think. And here is modern again. Modern. Modern. Modern Dutch. Old Dutch. And modern Dutch again. This is one of my favorite suites on the ship. Here is French. French and Italian Renaissance, which is said to be the most beautiful wood on the ship, and you can't possibly represent it in Minecraft because supposedly in real life it kind of has almost a 3D effect. It looks different from different angles, and it's supposedly very beautiful. So it's sad we can't really represent that in game in the same way. And finally, here is the Adams sitting room, which is personally one of my favorite styles on the ship. And let's just real quick mention on the inside here we have some lavatories, baths. It's a stewardess's cabin inside here. There's also a set of 4 identical cabins. Very nice. Let's move aft. Here is a passage, or not passage, but staircase for the stewards that leads up to the pantry. Goes down all the way to E deck. It's an easy way for the stewards to they have access to the galley via that staircase as well, so they could provide passengers with light refreshments if they so desired. Yes, again, here's aft's grand staircase. You could go out on the sides here to the promenades on both sides. Moving aft here, we have 2 cabins. I imagine these would have been very noisy because people walked by all the time into the restaurant. Another one. Here's also a cashier. This was where you would have paid for the access to this restaurant, I assume. There's also a wine cellar back then, or back there. Yeah, here's the B deck a la carte restaurant, and yeah, it's very nice. And it's basically an alternate dining option for first class passengers. This was a concept that was introduced on the excuse me, the Germany, I think, and back in 1905. No, sorry, America. That's the one. Back in 1905, and this concept spread to Titanic and a lot of other ships, and it was very popular, so they expanded it on Titanic. Did I say Titanic before? This is Olympic. It spread to Olympic, it was enlarged on Titanic, and enlarged even more on Britannic. And yeah, proved to be very successful. And here is a pantry and a galley for this restaurant. The chef's galley in here. And that is the first class section of the ship down, or not ship, but deck. Here's second class. And that was very interesting because passengers complained, first class passengers complained that second class passengers would stroll up and just peer in at the rich people eating inside. So on Titanic, this section of the promenade was removed. Around here, they would have added a wall and added first class Café Parisien instead. But yeah, here is the second class forward stairs again. B deck level. You have the elevator as well. Here is the smoke room for second class. My personal favorite room on the ship. I know many hate this floor. I don't. I love it. I love everything about this room. And yeah, it's objectively the best room on the ship. Here's a bar, as well as a lavatory for the gentleman. Let's move aft here, out again. Here is the aft staircase for second class. This would lead down to F deck as well, but it did not have an elevator, so if you fell down this, well, it's too bad for you. And then finally here with B deck we have the poop deck, and yeah, a lot of jokes have been made about that, so I won't. But yeah, here are 2 additional cargo cranes. These would have serviced this cargo hatch here, number 6 cargo hatch. We have this is basically third class promenade space. In addition to the docking bridge up here, this was basically an auxiliary bridge. It is said that this was used in ports, but it's more likely that this was simply a safeguard. If the forward bridge was unusable, they would have headed back here and used this wheel instead. There's also the flag. They're flying the blue ensign. This was for if a sizable portion of the crew was part of the British Navy. Mainly the captain, but a lot of the officers as well needed to be so. in that case they could raise his flag. Otherwise they would use the red ensign, was the British merchant flag, I think it was called as well. Yeah, this is a very stern ship. The Olympic nameplate, as well as Liverpool, it's supposed to say underneath, but couldn't really depict that in this game. Alright, back in the bow here again, we have a sea deck. Let's go through the hose pipe again into the windlass gear space. So yeah, this is again, where we explained before, this was a large winch for the auxiliary anchor if they needed to deploy it. Here is the windlass space, and this is where the machinery was housed for all of the docking equipment above, all the anchor gear and stuff like that. We have some cabins here, a lamp trimmer and storekeeper. And on the other side we also have some deckmen. Here's some steam engines powering the capstans on the deck above. Here is the forward hatch, number 1 hatch again. We'll put a cover on this. And if you go down, I'm just gonna show you real quick here. These all the way down to boat deck, so not boat deck, tank top. Let's go through. This is only for crew, so this is the greaser's mess. Here's a carpenter's store. Seaman's mess, where they ate basically. A carpenter's shop. A fan room. Entrance for the firemen to go down to their quarters. Here's a crew's galley. They cooked food for a lot of the crew in the forward part of the ship. Here is a galley store and the crew hospital. Here is also the seaman's entrance, where you will also access the crow's nest. Let's just go up here real quick. Here we go. Let's move on to the other side. We have the fireman's mess here. As well as a surgery, the dispensary, where they basically would have kept all the medicine and stuff. They would not have performed surgeries on Titanic. The surgery was just a British term, and it did not mean cutting people up. There's another crew hospital on this side. Let's fly through here. Here is the forward well deck. This was used for promenading space for third-class passengers. It was also used for 2 cargo cranes and 2 hatches. And yeah, you could access third-class spaces when you went down these stairs on either side. We'll get to this space later. Let's go through this window here. We have a first-class area again. These were first-class cabins again. We had some forward cabins here. All of this forward wall are cabins. We have some inside cabins here. And then on the sides we have a set of bibby cabins again. These were almost suite level. This is a bibby cabin here, as well as this a smaller one here. And if we move through here, we get a larger cabin, as well as a private bath. So what I presume you would do is book this entire little suite here, and you would have that, and it's very nice. A little party of people would have probably booked that. Here's also a bunch of inside cabins, so this would have been very small as well. All the way across here. Here's a bath for the ladies, a lavatory. And here is, let's see here, pantry. A service closet. A telephone exchange. This was where they would have handled all of the telephone lines on the ship. And here is the grand staircase again with the elevators, as well as Yeah, the grand staircase, and we also have a cloakroom here. Removed later on Olympic and never included at all on Titanic or Britannic. On the other side here is the enquiry office, where passengers would, well, enquire about various things. If they wanted to book a ticket to the squash court or the Turkish baths, they would have gone here. So if they had any complaints at all, basically, they would have gone here. There's also the purser's office in here. Moving further aft here, we get to some additional suites, so I'm going to go through them real quick. On the inside, were these very simple cabins here. I'm not going to go through them again. They would have all basically looked like this. And here is the Regency style sitting room. And here is, I think this is Empire style again. Here is French, Louis XVI, Queen Anne, Empire, modern. It's a lot of moderns. Here is Louis XIV, I think. Georgian, Louis XV. There's a bath here, so we need to fly through. This is Louis XVI, I think. Adam style. French, modern, French. Modern and modern, and that's basically that for that side. Here is the grand staircase, or the aft grand staircase, C-deck level. This was as far down as that went, so didn't go further down. A-deck to C-deck, while the forward one went between boat deck and F-deck technically. Here is the barbershop for first class. This was basically where they cut their hair and beards, and you could also buy a bunch of souvenirs here if you wanted. And basically also used as a convenience store type thing, so you would have bought a lot of like essential items like toothbrush and soap, as far as I know. Let's move from aft to forward with suites on this side. We have modern, French, modern is not even a word to me anymore. French, Adam, Louis XVI, Louis XIV maybe, or Georgian. Here is, I have the text up on screen. Here is also text up on screen. I'm sorry, I can't remember all these sweet styles. Here's modern again. Modern Dutch. That's different to modern. Here's Old Dutch and Modern Dutch again. Here's French, Empire, no, Adam, and Louis XIV. That is all the first class cabins, and then on the inside again there would have been these simple cabins, as well as some lavatories and stewardess cabins. Let's move further aft here, all the way to here. And we have some first class cabins here, as well as restaurant manager. This would have been Louis Gatti. I think it was easy. I think his name was. And assistant doctor as well. And the main doctor basically. So that's that. We'll also have a clothes pressing room in here. They did not wash the laundry on the ship, they instead pressed it and put it in bags for cleaning while they got to the shore basically. Here is the second class area. This was also where you would access the third class surgery. It's kind of complicated, I know, but yeah, this is how they had it. Here is the third class surgery. Again, they didn't cut people up. This was just basically where they got the passengers checked up and just checked if they needed to be admitted to the hospital on the deck below. Here is the second class forward stairs again with the elevator. Here is the library for second class. This would have basically just been a lounge, and it's called the library for some reason. But yeah, it's a lounge, same thing. Aft stairs. And out here is the third class promenade, the aft well deck with some 2 more cargo cranes and 2 hatches. Here is the third class entrance. And we also have the staircase. We have the general room. This is where their lounge basically, where everyone was welcome. We also had the smoke room on the other side, mostly for the men. And out again. Let's take an interesting direction here. I mean aft, or not aft, down. We get to the aft machinery space here. This was used for this is a steering gear, so this was where the rudder was operated from, basically. Steer this mighty rudder here from this space. There was also some not electric, but equipment here for the capstans here. Right, let's continue here with D deck. So let's head through here. From this deck down, we have some stores in the very peaks of the ship's hull. This was used for basically storing miscellaneous equipment and stuff, where people didn't know where they would put stuff otherwise, basically. Here is the fireman's bunks. This was the fireman's quarters, and greasers and leading firemen, they would have slept in these areas all the way down. Yeah, but firemen in these two, it's the same on the other side. Here's also fireman's VC. And wash place. This is where they would have washed and showered, basically. Let's move through this wall here. We'll end up in the third class open space here on D deck. Very large space. This was basically a good promenade. You could hang out. You could. It was basically like a forward lounge where everyone was welcome. And it was removed on Britannic in favor of cabins and a large deck store, which was sad. Here is a broken door. Here is first class cabins again. This is pretty much exactly the same as the deck above, except that there was no private baths, so this was how the cabins looked. They were basically mirrored like this. Let's move past or move aft. Here we get to the boarding entrances for first class. And the elevators again. And the first class reception room. So this was for the dining saloon over there. This was kind of a lounging space where they would have hung out before and after dinner. And basically, yeah, all over the day, basically, they would have been a very popular room. They would have added much more cabins on Titanic and Britannic. They would have even made these entrance alcoves smaller on the other two ships. On Britannic they almost got rid of them completely. And then further aft here we get to the dining saloon for first class. Very large room, the largest on the ship in fact, for passengers at least. And this was very large and could house a lot of passengers. I don't know the exact number, but yeah, that was the idea. It would have been the largest room for passengers on any ship at the time as well. And let's move further aft here. We get to the galley, or rather this is the pantry for the first class dining saloon, where they would have prepared the food. We also have the staircase here again, going up to A deck. And this side again is the pantry. Here's some various store closets for the china, the oysters. Here's a coal locker, here's some glass. Other side there is some silver. And we have a pantry scullery, knife storage and stuff, sharpening equipment. Here is I think this is a vegetable preparing room. And in here is the main galley where they would have cooked the food. So you would have had large ranges here that would have cooked stuff. They would put it in the so-called bain-maries, or bain-maries, whatever they're called. And yeah, to keep the food warm. On this side we have a large larder as well as a coal bunker. For yeah, they would have powered all of the equipment in here via coal, so they needed access to coal. On the other side we have a chef's office, as well as another coal bunker and coke, so that's fun. Here is a vegetable room, another one, and I don't know what this was called. I'll have to look at that. Yeah, let's move further aft. Here is a second class area, silver, glass, china, knives, and here's a second class pantry. On this side here we have the bakery in here, as well as a bakery here as well, but also a confectionery would have made sweets and cakes and all that kind of stuff. Here's a butcher shop, and here is a hoist. Would have led down to the food stores on on G deck and Orlop deck. And yeah, there's also the equipment here for the elevator. Here's a staircase leads down to E deck, and here is the second class dining saloon. It's a very nice space in my opinion. Here is the forward staircase again, and aft is the aft stairs, and here are a bunch of second class cabins. This is an example. We have this one here. They're kind of simple, but very nice in my opinion. It would have been in this dark, I think this was mahogany, I can't remember, furniture. There also were some bibby cabins in second class. Just went all the way aft here. Had some additional cabins in there, and on the sides, and some lavatories here. Go over to the other side. Access third class. Here is third class, the main staircase again. Over here are some cabins. Very small, very cramped. Not very nice at all. This is a very weird cabin. They would have, like, due to the shape of the stern, the cabins would have been weirdly shaped as well. So that's very interesting. Let's move forward. I missed the rooms, I think. Yeah. Here is the lavatory for the women and the men on that side. Here is surgery. There's the waiting room and the surgery itself for third class passengers, basically. So that is D deck. Alright, so let's continue on with E deck. So we have the fireman's quarters here again, and we're gonna focus on this here. This is the trimmers. Forgot to mention those earlier. So we have firemen, we have trimmers, we have greasers, and we have leading firemen. There's some more trimmers in the very front of the bow here. I also forgot to mention this on D deck. You can actually access the chain locker where they would have stored all the chains for the anchors when they weren't, you know, pulled down. So that's interesting. It is a very, very, very dangerous environment because as the anchors and the chains, as the anchors and the chains were in the water, basically they would rust, I believe, and that would basically drain all of the oxygen in that room. So if you went down there, you'd potentially suffocate and die, and that's happened a lot with people, crewmen over the years, and still happens to this day. Anyway, enough rambling. This is the fireman's VC. They have a lot of those. Actually, no, we're on D deck. My mistake. We should be on E deck. Here we go. Yes, fireman's VC again. Like I said, there were a lot of those. Fireman's wash place. And trimmers here on this side, I guess, as well. Let's phase through this wall here very elegantly. We end up here. Third class section B. These were all numbered. Not numbered, lettered. They were not... The cabin numbers themselves weren't lettered, like E1 or D57. They were instead simply numbered, and you would refer to them as, say, cabin 3 in third class section B, basically. And that's what these were. Very simple. And that's unfortunately the end of that sentence. They're very simple. And yeah, we have the number 2 hatch here. And we end up, if we move forward, these are lavatories for the third class. This is the E deck third class entrance. And this is the number 3 hatch, I think. This is also a small skylight that leads down, or quote-unquote skylight, because it doesn't actually let down much light at all. But I think it's more so air that leads down all the way to the squash court, which we'll get to later. So yeah, that is this area here. There's another lavatory here. There's some cabins strewn out across. I'm not gonna go through all of these, obviously, because they're very similar, very boring, so not much to say about them. We have a Masters at Arms cabin here. This was moved to over here on Titanic. There's a pantry here on Olympic, actually, for third class use, but this was moved. Actually, they don't have a pantry at all on Titanic. There's actually a bar here as well. This was moved up to like there on Titanic. I know why I'm saying all these changes now, because I'm planning to do a full comparison video again for all of these ships, so that's fun. Here is another section of third class cabins. This is section... Is that B? No, it's not B. I think that's C, actually. Or you know what? No, this is... I'm gonna stop talking. Anyway, moving on. Scotland Road. This is the main crew companionway. And this was used by both crew and third class as they would traverse through the ship. The men were housed in the bow, while single women and families were housed in the stern. So they would need this companionway to access the third class dynasty zone. We're coming to that. I'm just gonna quickly show you what was in this passageway. So we have several different things. We have escape routes from the tank top. This is from the forward compartments, while plumber store. While these here are escapes from the boiler rooms, which we'll get to now later. So that's fun. I'm not gonna go through all of these again, they're mostly the same, but I'm going to show you generally how they looked. So we have some quartermaster's cabins here, carpenter and joiner. You can see this is slightly better furnished. I suppose they were of a higher rank or something. Bosun and mate. These were almost furnished to second class standards with the sofa and stuff, as opposed to these ones who were more third class style. There's sort of two different crew cabins. And then of course you have the officers who have even better. Here's a typical lavatory for the crew. You have a bath, a toilet, and what have you. We have linen storage in here, so this goes down to F deck. And yeah, steward's lavatory. This is a big one, big lavatory. So that is how they looked basically. So plate washers and scullions, drying room where the crew would have dried their clothes, second class stewards, so a ton of that stuff. Here is an Olympic 1911 unique feature. This barely stayed for a year on Olympic. It was never introduced on either Titanic or Britannic. There was this staircase that led up to D-deck in the boarding entrances, and this was for third class use when they would board third class passengers through these doors in certain ports. I don't know where, I think it was maybe Cherbourg. And yeah, they would use this staircase that went down here. Clearly not important enough to keep, so they removed it. That was in when they made the boarding entrances smaller though, so that might have to do a bit too with it. Can't talk. That might have to do with it as well. More cabins here, a lavatory. This leads into the first class areas, which we'll get to in a moment. There's more of these spread out, the escape routes. Here's some waiters. Staircase leading down. Here's some additional crew quarters. There's some piping and the fire hydrants spread across these areas. They didn't bother to hide them like they did on the upper decks. Yes, dining salon to the first class led down here. We're gonna get to that later. Let's speed this up here. As we get to this little crossroads thing here, we have some additional crew cabins here. We have the steward's staircase here. It leads up to D-deck. It terminated on this floor, and yeah, that's the end of that. Leads into the actually second class area in here. This could be changed out to first class. It was what was called an alternate area. We're gonna explore that in a bit again. Pantry in here. I'm in the closet. Wink wink. Chief baker, assistant chef. A lot of the restaurant staff was around these parts. I think, yeah, even more here. Butcher, second class baker or second baker. A lot of different victualling staff, I think it's called. Native Swedish person, I don't know the fancy English words. Here's the engineer's mess. That's weird, but there we go. You didn't see anything. Engineer's mess, where they ate. They have a little pantry with a dumbwaiter that led up to D-deck. The D-deck galley. There's an entrance for the engineers leading down to their quarters on F-deck. Here is a entrance to the reciprocating engine room. Again, we'll get to that later. Here is an entrance for the crew. This is one of their entrances at least. They would also board through the forward E-deck entrance if needed. but this is their main entrance. Engineer's office here. Here is restaurant cooks and entree, I think it's pronounced, and sauce cooks. Sauce cooks. More engineering quarters. And yeah, let's moving forward, or aft rather. Turbine engine casing, which we'll get to later as well. A lot of scaffolding in these areas. We have waiter's lavatory in here. There's basically the B-deck restaurant stuff in this area. And that was the case on Titanic as well. Here's some musicians in here. This was second class standards of these cabins. There's the exit. This leads into second class. Here is the third class aft entrance. In here is the hoist again. This leads to the D-deck. Galley. This leads down into the food stores. And this is the legendary potato room, full of yummy potatoes for all your potato needs. You can also wash the potatoes in here, should you so desire, unless you wanted to eat them dirty. That's not what I would do, but I'm sure there are people out there that do that. We have a third class area here. This is section K. Men's lavatory in here, women's over here, I think, in there. Here's some cabins. Much more to say. There's a watertight door. One of the few ones on E deck. They would become more common on F deck and below. There's an escape route from the tank top. I think this is one of the shaft alleyways for the propellers. Here is a, I don't know, I'm not too sure about this, if they could really inquire third class passengers, but this was supposed to be the inquiry office for second class, and yeah, there was a small window here, so who knows. I like to think it would have been there. A lot of cabins here. Section K, no, N. We're in section N now, since we're on the other side of that watertight door. Here is hatch number 5, I think. And more cabins, upon cabins, upon cabins. We have section M here, section R, hatch number 6, and we have the third class staircase again here. Chief third class steward. Here's some more cabins. Matron. Cabins, cabins, cabins. Pantry in here. Gotta have one. I think you have 2 pantries, third class at most. Let's head back to the bow-ish. Let's fly through these corridors. And there we go. Let's move on to first and second class. Oops. Through this emergency door. Yes, the E-deck first class cabins here, the 401s. In fact, like I said before, all of this corridor could be both first and second, depending on the bookings. So, if you had a lot of second class, you could book this area as second class, and then you would have a fence or what are they called? Those grills. What are they called? I don't know. Those things that in the movies that are used to shut the third class passengers down below decks that never actually happened. But you could do that, and so that would mean that first class passengers couldn't access second class areas. That was the general idea. Here's the staircase that leads down to the squash court and the post office, which we'll get to later. We have some cabins here. These were exclusively first class, as opposed to these ones here. These are also, except for these 2 here, there are also baby cabins with a small corridor. move forward. We have a lavatory here for the gentleman. And we have a ton of these inner cabins as well. Moving forward, we get to ladies' lavatory and baths. Here are the E-deck elevators. This is the lowest deck that they went to. And here is Molly Brown's cabin, just a fun fact. The reason we know this is because after the Titanic struck the iceberg, again this is Olympic and I said it's Titanic, I'm sorry. It's because she peeked out her head out of the cabin and she saw some crew members working a watertight door, and that's here. They would basically close the watertight doors from the deck above. This led down here, and they would close these two doors here basically. Not all watertight doors on these ships were automatic. It's not only the ones on the tank top, like the lowest deck, that could be closed from the bridge. The rest they actually had to send crewmen down to do it manually, like was the case on most other ships of the time. Enough rambling, let's move aft. We have the not really that grand staircase anymore. It's still pretty, but not curvy like your mom. Yes, this is the E-deck grand staircase. And we have a key locker in here. And cabins continue all the way over here. We have a pantry, service, closet. And here is the second class only. Or not only, but again, this could be first class if needed, but this is mainly second class, and this is mainly first class, like as a standard. Here are a typical second class baby cabin, and the inner cabin here, or the outer one I should say. So that's how all these looked. Here is a lavatory, some more inner cabins here. There's a bathroom there. Here is that door again that led into Scotland Road. And there's a service closet, there's a watertight door. These were concentrated around the engine room on this level. So that's why you see them here and not anywhere else on the deck, basically. Except for the aft section. Lavatory for the ladies. We have a lavatory over there for the gents. And I think we were here before. And yeah. Cabins upon cabins. Robin should be here today. He would be so pleased. Here is a second class barbershop. This is very similar to the first class one. Different linoleum flooring and decor, but otherwise pretty similar. And over here is the emergency exit to Scotland Road again, another one, as well as a lavatory for the gents. Here is a second class cabin, a large one. Chief, second class steward, he lived in here. He had his own little bar disc, whatever, so people could annoy him. That's very fun. The lower entrance here for second class, they had a gangway plank here that you could use to, if you were on a low boat, you could put that on the side and they could board. They had, oh no, it's only on Britannic that they had a gangplank here. And yeah, you can see Britannic use one of her gangplanks a lot as a hospital ship. Here's the forward staircase again, second class. They have a illuminated display here. And further aft here, some cabins again. We have lavatories for the gents and ladies. Watertight doors. Here's the aft staircase and the enquiry office again. Or the purser's office, I guess. Same thing. You would inquire with the purser, so, you know. Musicians. Again, second class standard for cabin. Purser's clerks, they also traveled pretty good. That is basically it. Laboratory for the ladies. Alright, time for F deck. Now this deck was one of the first ones to be completely, or almost completely, like separated by watertight doors. Often you couldn't traverse between different bulkheads or compartments, and it was completely separated, so we'll have to use spectator a lot here, I think. But yes, let's begin here. Leading greasers in the bow. And firemen. Again, there's a lot of firemen. This was cut down in numbers during Olympics 1920s or post-war refit. When they converted her to burn oil instead, so they didn't have to use as many people. Fireman's VC and Fireman's VC. There's a lot of Fireman's VCs, which is understandable. Let's move aft to a third class area. This is section C. Move that past here. And watertight door, we have section E in here. Section F, lead down there. I think this was... Yes, this is this could be used as cargo space if needed. But if they had a lot of bookings for third class, they could convert that into cabins. Not cabins, bunks, open berths. We'll get to that later. Here is section G. I'm gonna show one cabin, one or two, so you know what you're dealing with. A lot of cabins, cabins upon cabins, nothing that interesting though, so let's move forward. This is a bad vantage point, I'm gonna go here, yes, there we go. Okay, so here is the staircase again, E deck. We go down here to F deck, first class, and we get to the Turkish baths, and go through these doors here. Go into this room. This is the cooling room of the Turkish baths. Basically, the idea was that you would go into here, temperate room. This was kinda warm. You would slowly heat up. Then you would go into the hot room. I think this was this one here. And then you go into the steam room in here. And you're really hot. So there's also some fans here to heat up the place. What do you do then? Well, you go aft, cool down in the cooling room, or you could go take a plunge in the plunge bath or the swimming pool, cool down properly. This was free of charge. You could use this anytime you wanted. The Turkish baths themselves in here were not. They cost a bit of money to use. I think it was like one pound or something. Actually, that seems like a lot. Anyway, 1 shilling maybe. There's also some shampooing rooms. This you would have went to here first. You would have stripped down almost naked, so that's nice, and get completely shampooed, gotten all nice and clean, and then you would have done that which I just described. And yeah, that's basically Turkish baths. It sounds terrible, personally. Drying room in here. Here is one of the several fan rooms. These were large fans used for the keeping the boiler rooms not that warm. They would have been extremely warm still, but this kept the men down there from actually dying, which was nice of them. We have the linen stores in here where they would have kept all of the dry, or clean rather, linen in the ship. Also some soiled linen in here, as well as the drying room. They were kept in here. On Titanic they wouldn't actually have, like I said before, they don't... Again, Titanic. On the Olympic class, they would not have cleaned any of the linen. They wouldn't have washed it at all. They would have stored it in bags. They would have like dried it, compressed it, put it in bags, saved it for shore, and then they would have washed it on shore as opposed to having a large washing complex on the ship. There's another fan room. There's 6 of these in total, 1 for each of the boiler rooms. Here is an electric bathroom, or 2 rather, and this is, yeah, you're not getting electrocuted, you're just, it's basically like a little personal coffin, very nice. You're gonna put yourself in there, there's a bunch of light bulbs around you, they turn on, they heat you up, it's a nice warm experience, and it's good for you apparently, according to the Victorians and Edwardians. Again, they're interesting, very, very interesting people, I'll say that. Pantry, did I say that right? Pantry, yes, okay, good. Electrical locker. Here is a ash disposal pump, I think these were called. So you would throw ash down in the manhole from the boiler rooms, from the boilers. This would get pumped up here out on the side of the ship to avoid a buildup of ash. And we'll get to how they dispose of ash in the shores, because you couldn't do that in the ports because that was illegal. Turkish bath attendants. Let's move aft again. Third class dining room on the other side of the Turkish baths. Very striking parallel if you think about it. Very opulent. It's a very Turkish inspired style here. Very nice. And then you have no paneling at all to speak of at all. Bare steel walls, long tables, chairs, not much, but it did the job, I suppose. You have 2 sections here, so this was for the women, this was for the men. And the reason the women was forward and not on the aft one, like they were in the cabins, was because the women would come from this section, or women and the single women and the families. They would come from this section. They would go over here and into here on this side, and then the single men would do the same, but from this direction. They would come here and down here, and then they would be assigned a seat by the stewards. I think that you were assigned a seat with your ticket, so you would have the same one the entire voyage. Let's move aft again. We get to third class galley, or more like this is the pantry. And move aft, we have a watertight door. Here are some butchers, bakers, and stewards for third class. Also hidden here in the corner is another fan room. This was for these were kind of supposed to be a little bit smaller. I didn't really make them smaller, but in real life they were. This was for the smallest boiler room, which we'll get to later. Number 1 boiler room, and move to the other side to the main galley for third class. Here is another pantry on the other side, and here is the galley where they cook the food. They have a small coal bunker here as well, because again all the machinery was powered by coal, or most of it at least. They would have put coal and they would have heated up the furnaces. We have a baker shop in here, bread store, and we have I think this is the butcher shop, and some meat storage in here. And finally here is a potato wash place, because of course you needed potatoes, lots of potatoes. Supposedly I've heard that they had the dog kennels in this area on Olympic, at least in her early years, but I've never actually seen How that would have worked, where they would have kept them. I assume they wouldn't have put them near the food. I mean, that would have been not very hygienic, and yeah, who knows. Let's move aft. Let's move aft. We're on F deck here again. So yeah, this is the engineer's quarters on either side of the reciprocating engine room. We have the chief engineer. He had a very, very luxurious cabin. This is pretty much like the captain almost. Like maybe slightly below him, but he had a private bathroom. And like a bedroom and living room. It's amazing. I'd like to be chief engineer. But I can't do math, so I could never become a good engineer. But yeah, this is all of the engineers, basically. Senior second engineer, assistant second engineer. They had seniors engineers, they had assistants, they had junior engineers. There's a lot. Junior second engineer. So they would teach young engineers in making. This is the lavatory. Let's quickly pass through to the other side. Not that way. I'm not gonna die yet, at least. And here is the engineers on the other side. We have the junior second engineer. There's two of those apparently. Third engineer, so on and so forth. All the way down here, we also have a lavatory. No, that was over there. Never mind. There's also another door here leading into the engine room. Let us head aft again. We are now in second class. They're forward F deck cabins. So here is a lavatory. I believe this is for gents. Yes. And the cabins were kind of small. No, not kind of that small. Pretty good. This is how they looked. And it's pretty much the exact same on the other side, so I won't go through that. Here is a watertight door. Here is the forward staircase. And this is where that terminated, so didn't go down lower. And yeah, it's basically a lot of second class cabins in this area. This was exclusively for second class, so no alternate cabins here. Here is the aft staircase, and this is a staircase that could go down to G deck. We'll get to that in a bit. Assistant second class steward, he also had one of those windows, which I'm sure would have been very fun. Passengers knocking on your window at 2 in the morning. Yeah, that is second class. In this deck we also have, if you move forward, third class cabins. We have the number 6 hatch and the staircase here again. Not much to say again, because they're very simple. Not much to say at all. And now we get to G deck, and this is one of the lower decks that passengers B, or the lowest deck actually, and indeed for the crew as well. So we have the leading fireman in here, a large one, and fireman's wash place again. Fireman's wash place on the other side as well as the greaser's cabin in this side. Further aft, we get to per class open berth space. So this is interesting because on Olympic this space was completely open and there were open berths. So this was for the single men. So you would buy a ticket and you would get a bed, and that's it. There were no separating walls here at all. Very, very not private, and that sounds terrible in every way. But that's how it was on Olympic, at least in the beginning. Third class section D in here. This was not the case on Titanic. They removed this space and instead had cabins in here for 3rd class. On Britannic, this was also cabins, but they made this space up here into open berths instead, which is weird. Because why would they go back, like regress? It's a good question. You can't go through here, so you need to clip through. Ah, yes, here. Yes, here is a baggage space for 1st and 2nd class passengers. No, this is only 1st class, and then we have 1st and 2nd down here. Let's move over here. What's this? Oh yeah, that's a door. Here is the number 3 hatch. Yes, I know stuff. You didn't see that. Okay, here is the post office. This got very wet when Titanic scraped that ice cube. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of mail, I would assume, in here. And down here as well in the mail room, which we'll get to in a bit. There's a hoist here that will bring stuff up. Hoist is led up to F-Deck. And I also forgot to mention the mail clerks, they lived here. 2nd class cabins again. Here is the squash court. I forgot to talk about that. And there's a small locker. Yes, squash court. You would play squash here, enough said. Again, here's the vent and this quote-unquote skylight that would bring down quote-unquote light into this room. It would have been quite well lit. I had some light bulbs on the sides, I believe. But yeah, that's that. Let's move down again to G-deck. Let's move aft. Did I do the other side? No, I did not. Okay, so we're back here again. 3rd class section F. This is another situation of an open berth space. There's like 40 passengers in this small little space here. Absolutely horrible. This could be used for cargo if needed. Typically on eastbound voyage, when you would go from America to Europe, you would not have many 3rd class passengers booked at all, so they would convert this to cargo space basically. And that was the case on Titanic as well, except that these were actually cabins as opposed to an open space. The more you know. Let's head aft. Ooh, what are these areas? Let's get a light. I hope this works. It does not. I'll give myself some night vision now. What is this space? Well, this is the upper coal bunkers. So you had the normal coal bunkers down here, and then you would have quite a lot more coal than what I show here, and then you could even have coal up here as well in case you needed it. And yeah, this is a large trimming space where the firemen, no, this is where the trimmers would come in. This would be their job, where they would make sure the coal was distributed evenly across the ship. As we know that Titanic had a 2-degree list to the side during her almost entire maiden voyage due to the coal fire in one of her coal bunkers. They had to shift all the coal to the other side to basically stop the fire. And no, that fire did not sink Titanic. I will punch anyone who says that. Okay. Yes, there's a bunch of access ladders at least down into these bunkers. And you can also access the the boiler rooms via these coal doors. And these went all the way. Oh, sorry, That's the swimming pool. Almost all the way back to here. Yes, to the engine room. And these boiler coal bunkers surrounded the boiler room casings, basically. So that is that. Okay, engine room here again. This is the carpenter's workshop where they would basically fix stuff. Say a door handle was broken, or you needed some wood mended, I don't know. They would come here, they had a bunch of equipment. Basically a little workshop that they would use for some woodworking. And then on the other side, there is a second smaller workshop in here, as well as some oil tank storage, as well as a paint store. Close the doors after me. There we go. Further aft, we get to an interesting space. This is the brine return tank room. This is for the refrigerating machinery. Connected down. I don't know how this works, by the way. You'd have to look that up, but it was connected to these thingies down here. But I don't know what these were. I think there were some sort of filters. Yeah, that might be wrong. Here are some pumps that would pump. That's basically the refrigeration system used the CO2, and it pumped it through the entire system, and it would pump them into the food stores, which we'll get to in a bit in here, to keep those areas nice and cool. And let's see here. Yeah, this is when you notice that the decks are starting to be broken up by machine room casings, basically. Yeah, I think it's time to go to the what are they called? The food stores. Let's begin around the hatches. So these are the two small number 4 cargo hatches here on the sides. You would go down here, all the way down to G deck here and orlop deck, so we'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, these were the 4 food stores, and they would keep all the food on the ship here, almost all of it. So we have, for example, bacon, ham, and grease in here. Did I say grease? I meant cheese. Cheese! Grommet. We have fruit in here. I'm not gonna go through all of these, but yeah, it's basically all of the foodstuffs on the ship were kept here. Eggs, vegetables. Here's some ice making machines. Ice room in here. Flour was kept in here. Ice cream in here, very nice. Got some vanilla ice cream. Strawberry, gotta have it. You have some chocolate in here as well. Yes, I do. I love it. And behind this door here is the restaurant store. So this is for the B deck a la carte restaurant. It was a separate space entirely for that food, basically. So eggs, vegetables, potatoes, fruit, bacon and ham, and so on and so forth. There's a grocery and bulk store in here. That's basically it for GDEX food stores. We also have a thawing room in here for the meat. So westbound beef, so this is the beef that they had when they went west to America, which we're doing right now. So we have all of these meat loaded up. We have mutton in here, we have fish, we have poultry and game. Here's eastbound beef, which will be very much not filled at the moment, because we're not going east, are we? And yeah, that's basically it for the food stores on G-Deck. Let's move aft further. Yes, let's get here. These are some G-Deck second class cabins, alternatively third class. So these were mainly second class. Could access these with this door from the aft staircase again. We go down here, and you have your cabins. They're pretty nice, all things considered. Not as good as the ones above though. Actually, it's over here, yes. If you were a third class passenger, however, and White Star Line had this place allocated for third class, you would come down this staircase here. This was, yeah, here from E deck, third class section N is what it was referred to as when it was in use for third class, basically. So that is that. Very interesting, these alternate cabins. And here are just some standard third class cabins. We have a number 6 hatch here. These cabins could actually be, these were portable, so they could be taken out and used as cargo if needed. This is why you can see here on top, I've kind of represented that with like this. It's not really covered on top, it's because they could be taken out very easily. So you have the lowest section here on G deck for the third class cabins. And that's G deck basically. And now we get to the interesting stuff. So from now on I'm gonna do one compartment at a time. So I'm gonna do orlop deck, I'm gonna do lower orlop deck, I'm gonna do tank top. Each one compartment at a time. So we're gonna head down the number 1 hatch here. All the way down, almost at least. And then we head to here. Here's the number 1 cargo hold, the upper one. Here is the middle one. Here is the tank top one, the lowest one. Cargo hold number 1. We do the same for all of these. So we have the number 2 hatch here. All the way down. It's like kind of a lot larger. Cargo hold number 2, the higher section and the lower section. This could be used for motor cars, which was used for that on Titanic, as we know. They had a Renault. Can't remember what the serial number was, whatever, but they did have one. It went down with the ship. And number 3 cargo hatch. All the way down here to the mail room. So this is where they kept the mail in bags. I'm not sure if this was how they would have stored them, but they did have mail in here. That's for sure. Here is the special room, which is where they kept the valuable stuff, like gold or something, if you were the RMS Republic. Here is some further baggage. I think this was first and second, depending on how much was used. And further down we have the tank top, cargo hold number 3. So that is that. Let's move forward. Before we move forward into the boiler room, I'm going to do something interesting. Let's go up here again. We're going to go follow the path of the fireman. So what that means is we're going to go through here again. We're going to go... Wait, where is it? Here, fireman's entrance, this door. Go down into fireman's quarters, in here. And then we go down. These spiral staircases, wait. Yes, this way down, good. They were separated, so you went down on this side and then you went up on this one. All the way down to the tank top deck. It's not called the tank top deck, but it's called tank top. Here we go. And then they had a little fireman's access corridor here on the tank top that would give access to the boiler rooms. You may have noticed this signs. Way out this side, men will break step in this tunnel, and what this meant was that this was basically just a bridge. If you went down under here, you will notice that there's a bit of space in between, and what this meant was if the men working here marched in like at the same rhythm, it could potentially cause the bridge to collapse. It had to do with frequencies as far as I know. And that meant that the fireman had to kind of walk a little bit uneven to not make the entire bridge collapse, basically. Thank you, Honor and Glory. I had no idea about this, but now I do. Anyway, moving forward, we have a small freshwater pump here. And we also have the boiler room. This is a number 6 boiler room. This is the forward one. And this actually was only 4 boilers. And as opposed to the 5 ones. That was the case on the other rooms. Yeah, boiler rooms, this is where they burn the coal to power the ship, all of the machinery, the engine rooms, the electricity. These rooms powered all of that. These were double-ended, so they would put in coal in these 3 furnaces on this side, and these 3 furnaces on this side. And then they would grab the coal from these bunkers, put it in there. Again here we have the ash hoists, or not ash hoists but ash pumps. Pump that out. Up there. I missed this again. I didn't want to miss stuff. I think it was over here. Yes. Okay, let me show you what they did with the ash when in port. So, what they would do is they would have a little tube here. This you couldn't really make this hollow in the scale, but it's a tube. Basically, what you would do is you would have a man up here in this little room here. This was called the ash place. There were 4 of these on the ship, I think. And they would have this little machine here. And this was basically pull all of the, not all of it, but there was a little bucket that they would put the ash in. And this would pull it up, and they would take the ash. And they would carry it off the ship and put it in like a landfill or something. And that would basically prevent the port from becoming dirty, the water becoming filthy and contaminated with coal. That's not very good at all. So even back in 1912 or 1911, when Olympic entered service, they had some sense of they wanted to keep things clean, even back then. We have an ash ejector pump. This was the pump that led to that one, basically. Connected to that one. This is boiler room number 5. I'm gonna quickly go up rather, the scaffolding, the escape scaffolding. We have also real quickly here, we have the fan trunks that connected to the fans, the boiler room fans we saw earlier. They would provide some fresh air to the poor firemen working in these awful conditions. But yes, let's go through the scaffolding all the way up to the boat deck, which you can do. So, where did you go? Well, you went here. Not here. This is where you would access some of the machinery. This is where the steam pressure was taken from. I believe it was in these pipes here. And this was where they would vent out in case you needed to stop and disengage the boilers from the engines. You would basically vent out all of the steam pressure through these pipes. Otherwise they would probably cause a boiler explosion, and that's not very good, is it? So we would have this scaffolding. It went up. Could access behind the boiler room. I don't know what these were called, boiler casings, I think they're called. We have some water tanks here, water boilers, and went up here. And this is, you can access Scotland Road from here. That's very nice, isn't it? But you go up here, all the way up. There's a door here. Where that leads to? Well, it leads into the funnel casing, and this is a very, very dangerous space to be in. This is this is going to be extremely hot. The steam, or rather the smoke, was very warm, so you best not touch that, because it's for maintenance, I suppose. And you would go up this ladder, and now we're at the base of the first funnel, and that was the case with all of the 3 forward funnels. That's how you got up. This was for emergencies, you could go up there. There was nothing like that in the movie when they shut the watertight doors here, and then they couldn't get out. No, they couldn't get out. They just took the stairs all the way up. There's no reason to cross the watertight doors anyway, because you had the same opportunity to get up in both of them. So yeah, let's move aft again. Ash ejector and ballast pumps. You could trim the water tanks in the tank top to get the ship to an even keel in case she was listing. So that's basically that. Let's see, where are we? Let's move aft. These were all very similar, so I'm not gonna go through all of them. Here is the number 1 boiler room. So we have number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 6th one is the one in the front. The number 1 boiler room is the one in the aft, so that's kind of confusing. But yes, this is the pretty unique one. This was mainly used for generating electricity for the ship, and these boilers were single-ended, so you couldn't put in coal from the back, only on one side. It's a very compact room as well, so it's quite a bit different layout design, and you can also get up same way as the other ones. Let's go down, it's annoying. Yes, here. Alright, so I'm gonna go up through here. I'm gonna go through the engine casing, so let's go all the way up. And let's enter from here. So we're back here in the tank room, and the reciprocating engine room casing, the tongue twister. So you would walk down the scaffolding. This is, I think I forgot this earlier, but this is another tank room on the boat deck, no, A deck, with some filters and tanks. Go further down. There's a little fan to bring down air into the engine room that would also become quite hot. Here is a tank. I don't remember what this was for. I don't know much at all about the engine rooms. I'm very bad at this, so you will have to bear with me. But yes, here is the very top platform of the forward engine room. These are the reciprocating engines, the tops of the cylinders. So you had, I'm not gonna try explain how this all worked, but yeah, you had the rails up here. I believe this was used if you wanted to lift some of these covers up, maybe for maintenance. And yeah, you had these flues here as well. I'm gonna quickly show you these deep slate pipes here. Like you see, these were used to drag air out, not air, smoke out of these ranges in the galley above. They were used to drag it out over here, up into the turbine engine casing, all the way up into the 4th funnel. So the people that tell you that the 4th funnel is a dummy and that it doesn't work, they're lying to you, because it does work. It does exhale, it does shoot out a little bit of smoke, not much, but a little bit. So there you go. Let's go back in here. Let's head down a bit. Maybe on this level here, you have the support columns for the engines themselves. Here are the pistons driving the shaft for the propellers, the outside propellers. And yeah, very interesting. It looks really cool, all this, but I don't really understand it that well. See it here. Very cool. I really like how this turned out. I love how all of this entire ship turned out. All of these ships turned out. In the middle, we have some little bit of machinery. We have 2 winches. There's another one here. There's also control panels and steam gauges, and yeah, you would control the engines from here basically. Here is also a bunch of pumps. So we have some. I don't remember what all these were, but yeah, these were from everything from the ballast pumps to the water systems, and pretty much everything was kept in here. It's also on the other side. We had the refrigerating engines. There were 2 of these kept down here, and there was also some more pumps and stuff here. Pumps and stuff. This was a nightmare to figure out, and I know for a fact that this is not correct, and this is like the one thing I don't care if this is wrong or not. I tried my best to do all the piping as well as I could, but the piping plans, it just sucks, so sorry. Sue me if you want, I don't care. Anyway, let's move forward. We are now into the turbine engine casing, or turbine engine room, and this was what drove the center propeller on the Olympic class. So you had a big turbine in the middle here. Leftover steam pressure from the forward engines would get pumped into here, and then it would be forced through the turbine to get it spinning, and then the steam would be cooled down in these condensers, and then it would get put back into the reciprocating, or the entire system. There was a closed loop, and it's very, very impressive that they managed to do this back in 1912 or 11. We have some what are these? Let's call them tubes for now. Here are some oil tanks over here. I believe this was where they would pull in water, maybe? Here are some for the feed filter. I think this was called. Why am I trying to explain this when I clearly don't know? There's a bunch of tanks and stuff. This is all connected, and it's yeah, a beautiful loop. Let's move aft again. Actually, let's first go up the casing. So we're at the top here. You could have these this engine here that would drive these shafts that they could pull up the casing of the turbine in case they need to access and provide maintenance. They could do that both the aft section and the forward section here. And yeah, here is the casing here, and this is the E-deck level, I think. Yes, Scotland Road is in there. You have a small electrical locker. Move further up, we have the emergency dynamos. The emergency electric generators, basically smaller ones, but yeah. Here are some supply oil tanks, I think to recall. And further up, we get to the fourth funnel. There's some fans here that lead down. And yeah, it goes all the way up. You can access this via a staircase, or ladder, sorry, and you can look up here. There's a famous photograph of a stalker that climbed all the way up here, or an electrician probably. And yes, that's fun. Had a bit of a smoke up here. All the way down again. Moving to the electric generator room. So this was where they kept the electric generator sets. There were 4 of them. And they powered the ship, basically the electricity. And they've got connected here to the switchboard room, which you could access by the stairs on this level here. And this is where you would, basically control the electricity across the ship. I don't know what this was exactly, but you could also not access, but you could escape via these ladders all the way up through these, what are these called? Vents. Sus. Let's move aft. You could put 2 additional electric engines here if needed. I don't know why it would be needed, but that's what it says. It's also the forward propeller shaft alley. Can you tell my voice is getting really hoarse at this point? And here's the aft one. And this leads all the way aft. There's another escape ladder here, goes up all the way to the steering engine. And that, my friends, is basically the RMS Olympic. Hope you enjoyed this tour. It was very rambly, but I hope you found some of it interesting at least. And you learned something new maybe today. And thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I hope you enjoy it. I will be back next week with Titanic showcase video and tour, and the week after that we'll do Britannic. Those 2 ships are also now finished, so I just need to do the videos. That should be fun. Thank you guys for watching so much. Love you guys, and see you next time. Bye bye.